This is NXT superstar Dexter Loomis, and I want you to do me a favor. Check out good mic work commentaries on YouTube. Listen to the podcast, subscribe. And if you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Happy Thursday afternoon, everyone. What's going on? Good Micro Commentaries back at you as promised with your AEW All Out 2020 predictions. Pay-per-view, of course, is this coming Saturday. So we're going to go ahead and knock these out here and discuss a little bit of wrestling news and a little bit of NXT as well in lieu of doing a Winged Eagle podcast this Saturday because there's not going to be any time for that. The pay-per-view starts in the middle of the afternoon for me, so I'll be watching that. Then I'll be up here immediately following All Out, and we'll do a full show review. So a little bit of a different schedule this week, but that's the way it goes when AEW has shows. Can I be heard and all that good stuff? Because I had a few issues when I was setting up. Is this coming Saturday? All right, we're looking good. I also want to apologize. This stream is coming up 30 minutes later than I advertised this past week, and I kind of had to push it up 30 minutes. That's the way it goes on this channel sometimes. Wanted to give myself a little bit extra time to get ready, make sure I wasn't missing anything major in terms of the all-out card or wrestling news because I wanted this to be, a somewhat substantial stream where we talk about a lot. Got about an hour and a half here to knock this out before I head off to work. So we'll be able to cram it all in. We're going to start off with the wrestling news, though. I want to get into this past Tuesday's NXT, the big Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match, and the controversial finish that had a lot of people talking online, and the match that we're going to get next week on Tuesday, and also the possibility of maybe NXT permanently moving to the Tuesday night time slot. I got some news on The Rock and his family, and a little bit of Renee Young news as well, as she did an interview and revealed a couple of things about WWE and her leaving the company. So I thought we would talk a little bit about that, and then we'll touch on, or we'll predict the entire all-out card, and that'll be it. And then I got to get out of here and head to work so I can pay them bills. Hope you guys are doing well. Devlin, good to see you. Perfect timing, man. Appreciate the $10. Hey, Greg, just got off work, so great timing. Good. I'm glad I postponed this a little bit. Thought Dynamite was terrible last night overall, but I'm still excited for All Out. Yeah, I am too. And I gotta say too, I wasn't home to watch Dynamite last night. I only watched bits and pieces of it. when I got home, but I was watching the reaction online, on social media and Twitter, from everybody. And I don't follow like crazy people. I follow people who's, most of them anyway, I trust their judgment. So, when it was overwhelmingly kind of like a meh show, they were like, it's okay, but it's a good Dynamite, and there were some good segments, and they did do some great things. Great to see Thunder Rosa in action. I love the main event segment, or the beatdown of Moxley and all of that. There were some really good things. Oh, and the Jericho and Janela match, and just the amazing sell on the code breaker and stuff. They had some moments last night for sure, but overall, people said it was kind of a lackluster show. And I put that on Twitter. I was like, well, it's good to know that WWE is not the only company that sucks at go-home shows. A few people took offense to that. Some of these people don't know me. The AEW cult members came out of the woodwork and freaked out. I'm like, just chill. Just take a deep breath. Ritalin, whatever you need. I'm not trying to kill your baby. Just pet it and love it. I am, if you listen to my podcast, I am extremely complimentary, and I sing the praises of AEW all the time. I'm a big supporter of the company. I want them to do well, and I'm definitely on their side, but I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to be blind and just pretend that a show is good when it's not at the same time. I think if you truly love something or someone or a wrestling company or whatever, you need to be honest, with yourself and not bullshit yourself. So when I was reading all of the comments, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't sound like a good show. So you got some people that just like kind of freak out at something like that. I'm like, it was kind of just a joke. Just relax, everyone. Not a big deal. All Out still looks pretty good. The fact that we're in the pandemic era and AEW has been able to put on great cards like this, and this one looks no different. I think we got some sleeper matches in here, and a couple that are going to be really fun. And I think the pay-per-view will be awesome, and I'm more than happy to slap down my money to buy it. And all these people running to the defense of AEW, they're probably going to pirate this shit, when I'm actually buying the damn thing. So it's kind of weird, even though I'm a big supporter of AEW and stuff, it's a little bit scary, the cult-like mentality of, they're diehards. Not that WWE fans can't be the same way, but I largely kind of stay out of that. It doesn't bother me. I see a lot of people complaining about it online, but I just don't engage to take myself down that road where it has to piss me off, but when I make one little funny tweet like that, it is kind of funny to watch them crawl out of the woodwork like cockroaches, to jump on you for something that wasn't even that bad. If they knew me, knew who I was, they would know that I'm a pretty goddamn big AEW fan. So I'm rooting for them hard this Saturday. I think the pay-per-view looks great. It doesn't matter if you have a shitty go-home show. WWE does it all the time, and then they turn around and pull great pay-per-views right out of their ass. So I don't think it'll be any different for AEW. It's not a big deal, and I think everybody should relax. It's all good, man. But anyway, thanks, Devlin, and good to see you. I'm expecting a low audience in here tonight because, it's a random day. This is not a normal time for me to be streaming and all that. So hopefully you guys will check this out after the fact once it hits on demand. I also want to say hi to Thomas T-Bone and Madeline. Good to see you in here again. And you just finished up class, so you and Devlin have both had perfect timing here. That's awesome. Dan Price in the house. Oh, yeah, that's right. You kind of have given up on WWE, so All Out or AEW is kind of like your new thing. And, yeah, the All Out is technically kind of their WrestleMania, right? It's kind of where it all started. So, like I said, it sucks that we don't have fans right now. And I guess there will be some, in attendance because they're doing 15%, I think, AEW. So they'll have something there, which is something. But imagine, if we never had the COVID, I mean, where AEW would be right now if they still had fans and were able to continue that momentum. Sucks, man. And Big J, thanks, dude. Happy Thursday to you. Barry, good to see you. Bruce and William, Maka International, Jet the Hawk, Ben, Espinoza, Ratnick, Bruce. Did I say Bruce already? I probably did. Anyway, all y'all, thanks for being here. And we should have fun. Yeah, Devlin, you are definitely one of the crazy people I follow. Should block you. You're just crazy. It's crazy, man. Yeah, I'm much nicer to AEW than I was to Impact, and that's the thing. I'm glad that I let that bother me 10 years ago, because without that, I wouldn't have had this YouTube channel. But you grow out of that. You eventually you get to the point where you look around in your life and you say, I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. Like, why would I? So like once you can let that go, I promise you will be a much happier wrestling fan for it. But that wasn't the case with me 10 years ago. I got annoyed at the fans like, WWE's going to go out of business in 3 years. You just have to accept that level of ignorance and stupidity is never going to go away. It's always going to exist. And to try to fight it is a waste of time. And I don't do that anymore. But I did back in the day, and it spawned this great YouTube channel with all these awesome listeners. And look how far we've come, man. But anywho, let me get into some wrestling news first, since there's like 36 of us in here. Just a small group. We can all kind of just chill out in the living room here. Michael Kumo, good to see you as well. Appreciate the 2. Wardlow should win AEW title before MJF. I'm wondering, too, because, they've been teasing him treating Wardlow like shit a couple times. He's yelled at him. He might have even slapped him once. I can't remember. But it's coming. An Alex Riley onto the Miz-style beatdown is going to be in MJF's future. And who knows, that could even play a role in the main event on Saturday. I'm not sure. Or I'm assuming is the main event. I should say title match. But we'll get into all the possibilities there because I got a few. And I think a couple of these matches, too, on All Out, they feel predictable. So we'll see if AEW, swerves us or changes some stuff up, because a couple things they did here is almost like reminiscent of WWE, especially with the way they ended with Moxley and MJF and MJF blooding him and beating him down. Like, how's Moxley not going to retain the title? Usually when you see a segment like that, the babyface gets it all back and all of that. So it's a little bit formulaic sometimes when they do it that way, because sometimes you can tell who's going to win. But we'll see if AEW tries to throw us a curveball or not. What up, Ungovernable? You're here too. All right, well, let's start with some wrestling news before we get into the actual predictions here. I want to talk about this past Tuesday. It sucked because, as I was telling you guys who've been following the podcast and stuff, I was actually off for about 12 or 13 days because we had a couple of positive COVID tests in my restaurant. So we had to shut down. So I was off all these days, but the day I had to go back to work after all this time off was Tuesday. So I had to miss the entire 4-way Iron Man match and crowning the new champion and all of that. Now, we all saw what happened. I have since gone back and watched most of the match, or some of the match. I should say I focused mostly on the end because I was able, while I was at work, I was looking at the time, I pulled out my phone, and I tried to catch the last 2 minutes of the match. And I thought the finish of the whole thing was like really perfectly timed. Now, I'm pretty sure this was taped earlier on in the day, but it didn't seem like that edited. And I just thought it was such a great finish with Finn Balor. Like, he scored the pinfall right, and that put him in the lead. And he's kind of just sitting there like on his knees, and he's in prone last shot position. As the time's winding down, he thinks he's won. Adam Cole comes in from behind, nails him with the last shot. And I thought it was just excellent little touch, the way Finn Balor was completely just motionless, dead weight on the mat. And Cole, you can see him panicking. He's like trying to push him over. He's probably like, dude, roll the fuck over, man. And it was just so perfectly timed. He got him over. Referee had to make a pretty brisk 3 count. But he got it in. I thought it was just executed to perfection. And I looked at that and my phone. I was like, wow, that was good. Also, I knew it was going to be a tie. Click, and I went back to work. So then I'm starting to read social media, and I'm watching this outrage on like Twitter. What the fuck? And oh my God, and you didn't give us a winner, and that's effed up. I don't like to brag, but am I the only person in the world that saw this coming the moment they announced it? Look at the history of Iron Man matches in the WWE. How did nobody see that this was what they were going to do? It was the first thing I said. I'm like, there's going to be a tie. And since NXT is going on Tuesdays 2 straight weeks, I guarantee you there's going to be a tie, and they're going to push the title match to the next week. We even laid out the breakdown on the podcast last Saturday and Sunday, or whatever nights we were up here. And we talked, I think it was the weekend of Roman Reigns and the whole big thing and Payback and all that. We talked about this several times about NXT. They're like, what they're going to do is they're probably going to have like 2 guys tie, because what if it's, and I even said, I'm like, what if it's like Cole and Balor? They're tied, like they got 2 falls each, and then Gargano and Ciampa have none, and then time runs out. Do you do sudden death and you kick Ciampa and Gargano out, and you say, okay, Balor and Cole, you go at it now, sudden death, just like WrestleMania 12. And I was like, or do they push it a week? And I said it's going to be very important to pay attention to the time when this match starts. And if it starts exactly 1 hour into the show, to where from where the bell rings and you look at your clock, it's 1 hour away, they're not going to have time for a sudden death if it's a tie. So you're going to be able to tell that as well. And that's what I was looking for. When the match started, it was right at the top of the hour. So I tweeted, I'm like, well, that rules out sudden death. Unless they've done some fancy editing here, we go to commercial and they shaved a couple of minutes off the clock or something. They're not going to have time for a sudden death, which means if there is a tie, we are guaranteed to get a match next week. So this was all completely crystal clear obvious to me, because when you look at the history of Iron Man matches, when does it ever, it's always dramatic. And I understand, wrestling's got a wrestling, but I think it would have been cool for at least WWE to not treat the fans dumb. And if you're looking at this from a kayfabe perspective, William Regal, the general manager, William Regal, should have known, with all of his years of experience in wrestling, he should have said, you know what? A tie is possible. What's the plan for this? If there is a tie, in the event of a tie, because with 4 competitors, it's extremely likely there's going to be a tie. What's the plan? Sudden death? Do we do we do a sudden death the week after? He should have like said that in the initial promo, so when they don't mention anything, and I'm like, you know what? If there's a tie, the announcers are going to act all surprised, like, oh my God, we didn't think about this. How could you not have thought about this? And you look at WrestleMania 12, what happened? The tie, Gorilla Monsoon comes out, restarts the match, sudden death, all that. But in all the other Iron Man matches, and you guys help me out here, I'm fairly certain that every single time we've had an Iron Man match, it's very close. It's a photo finish. It's like a tie, and then somebody gets the final fall at the last minute. I think about the Rock and Triple H one, and the Brett and Shawn one. Whenever is there an Iron Man match, and there might be one, but when has there been an Iron Man match where someone was up, let's say like 6-3 in the falls, and then just sits back and plays defense and doesn't lose again and just wins the Iron Man match 6-3? That's no fun. It's no fun to watch a defensive finish, and just watch, it's like when you're up in basketball, you're up by 30, you put your bench in. It's boring. So Iron Man matches are not going to go that way. They're always going to kind of go down to the wire type of thing to maximize drama. That's the way they work. So to me, like having some sort of a tie or a funky wonky finish here was absolutely an inevitability. I saw no other way around it. And to see everybody like all shocked, I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? This was obvious. We talked about it. We talked about like 3 straight fucking days in a row. So anyway, I found that odd, not only that, that NXT did something that was so predictable, but the fans were actually shocked by it. So after the last shot, the pin on Balor, it's now 2. Balor and Cole were tied, and Gargano and Ciampa were below them. Regal's out there with the belt. All right, you can hear him talking. Here's what we're going to do next week. I'm like, there you go. Next week, and it's going to be Cole versus Balor. Now, if the fans who are angry about this could put all the anger aside for a minute, Cole and Balor? Fuck yeah. I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. And Balor is winning that title. It's going to be Finn Balor. Cole just came off that long run. Who's to say his issue with Pat McAfee is even done? Maybe McAfee can run out or do something like that. But it's going to be Balor. And that's going to be great. That's going to be a classic-ass match, man. And I'm looking forward as hell to that. And it's almost like appropriate. This is really perfect and fitting that Finn Balor will likely win the title here, since something similar happened to him in 2016 that happened to Karrion Kross. He had to forfeit the title, and then somebody else won it. So now he's finding himself in the Kevin Owens position. And it's funny, too, because Kevin Owens won that Universal title in a 4-way, right? When Triple H came out and helped him. How cool would it have been on Tuesday if Triple H came out and did the same thing, but helped Balor? Wouldn't make any sense. That means Triple H is back on TV again. Or I guess he could just never really explain himself if he wanted to. But if he came out there and pedigreed someone, and then Balor pinned him, and then he helped him up and congratulated him, and Balor was all shocked like Owens, that would have been kind of cool. I mean, just a little throwback to, what happened to him, and a really kind of a full circle moment here. But if you put the title on Balor now, we talked about this as well last week when we were speculating on who the champ might be. I think a lot of us were picking Balor, and the idea and the thought of the Demon versus Karrion Kross upon his return, yup, sign me up. Sign me up twice. I'll have seconds of that. That's going to be awesome. So I am okay with it. I can understand the fans like maybe complaint. What I don't understand is the over the top, I'm going to blow my brains out anger. To me, that's stupid. But I do get it. The critique that WWE was unopposed. They were on Tuesday nights. They had the world watching, and to not deliver an outcome. Was that the right move or not? But to me, it was so obvious that they were going to do that. I think maybe a better compromise here is if you should have done the sudden death thing. You should have just had because really, why would Regal even say next week? Why wouldn't Regal say right now, Ciampa, Gargano, you get out of here, referee, ring the bell, next fall wins, goes out on the outside of the ring, grabs a chair, puts it down, sits there, and just waits for it to happen and presents the belt to the winner. But you can't do that because you're out of TV time and all of that. This is on the network. They might have been able to play with that a little bit, but here on the USA Network, unless USA gave them some sort of an overrun, which I also think would have been cool, because then they would have fooled me. If they would have had this thing going on, and I'm looking at the time, I'm like, well, it's going to be a tie, and we're going to get a match next week. If it goes to a tie, I can see, Regal cutting to him at Gorilla, and he's picking up the phone, he's calling the USA executive, come on, give us 5 more minutes, give us 10 more minutes, come on, or whatever, and he slams the phone down, goes out to the ring, all right, USA Network gave us more time, ring the bell, let's do it now. And I'm like, look at that. They brought USA Network into a storyline here and pretended like they got extra time when they probably had worked this out previously. I think that would have made for better, compelling TV because that I wouldn't have seen coming. It would have been better just to wrap it up maybe on Tuesday. So the fans that are upset about that, I'll give you that. But look at what we get as the consolation prize. We actually get a great one-on-one match now. And the stakes are high. Adam Cole and Finn Balor. So they gave us, what I thought was from what I saw, a pretty good four-way Iron Man match. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. Never seen one like that before. But I thought it turned out to be good. And I really liked the execution of the finish. All that was great. And now this spawns and births a one-on-one match with Balor and Cole. I don't see much to complain about there. So the fans are sad that they didn't get the outcome that they wanted. They didn't get satisfied. Oh, sorry. Have a Snickers. To me, this was a very likely possibility that they were going to do it this way. And I guess I was surprised that so many were surprised. But in the end of the day, I'll understand the critiques that was a ballsy move. Going unopposed on Tuesday, chance to get a big rating here. Everybody's tuning in, expecting to see a new champion, and then they don't give it to them. Sure, I can see that. But it was also a way for them to stretch out and book something for their next Tuesday show where we now will for sure get a champion. So, where do you guys stand on it? What do y'all think? Is it the worst thing in the fucking world? Oh my God, I'm going to scream and yell and flip out? Or is it like, oh yeah, cool. Cole versus Balor next week. Right on. I think once we get to Tuesday, we'll be happy that it's here because that's going to be a match. And it probably, I think it has a chance to go down as one of the best NXT matches in history. Those are two decorated stars. Balor, it's going to be really interesting and cool to see him as the NXT champion again. Since 2015 or something when he was champ. So to see him come back and get that belt back now and do it by beating Adam Cole and then potentially have a feud with Karrion Kross on the horizon, I see very little downside there. I think we got a good future ahead, at least for the rest of this year, in terms of the NXT title. Lion Scott, appreciate the $2. Why do I have to stream during the Celtics game? Because I'm a dick. Sorry, man. God, I'm such an asshole. Why did I not think about the Celtics game? I'm sorry. I have to work these streams into my crazy work schedule, man. This is the only time I had to do it. Go Celtics, I guess. Dan Bryce, dude, welcome back. Appreciate the 2. Who's making mimosas Saturday? We getting drunk? Yeah, ooh, that might be a good idea. I have bubbly right there. I got Chris Jericho Cruise bubbly too. Maybe I'll pick up some orange juice at the store. I think we will. We might do that. That's an excellent idea, Dan Price. Hell yeah. And also, shout out to Dan. Didn't you make me that Good Mike Work logo that I'm using here on the overlay? That was you, right? Looks good. You do good work. Bruce, do you think next week they'll play some more stuff? We could see Ciampa and Gargano team up and interfere in the match? Maybe, but we still need... if they do that, okay, fine. But we got to get a winner here, man, because they can't do something. If they do it twice in a row, then I might jump on this anger bandwagon that everybody seems to be on. If they do something like that and they postpone it again, I'm like, all right, dudes, what are you doing? That's 2 weeks in a row now. So if they get involved, okay, maybe, or maybe get involved in the end, I'm fine with it. But I do think we need to have an outcome. And to be honest, in a situation like this, I'd like to see a clean outcome. I'd rather see this thing go the distance and have a good, clear winner and good, clear loser, especially after you do something where somebody has to forfeit the title. I think that should be won after that in a fairly decisive manner. So anyway, we'll see. Let's move on to more news, though, because NXT, there has been talk about moving NXT now to Tuesdays because they did pretty well in their rating. It was 800,000, something like that, and they actually ranked in the top 10 in that very important key demo that everybody cares about. This is the only thing that matters. And sometimes when they are going head-to-head with AEW, they don't even crack the top 50 in that demo. So for them to be in the top 10 now on Tuesdays, it has brought up the idea, and there has been internal talks in WWE of potentially moving NXT to a different night. And I had speculated on that too. If that ever happens with either company, if either company moves to get away from the other one, does the other company treat that as a victory of some kind? They're getting away from us because we're fucking their shit up kind of thing, when really it's going to benefit both. It's almost like this game of chicken, who's going to move first. But if somebody does, both companies are going to benefit. So not only will NXT, or AEW, I should say, get this feeling of victory, but they will also get a ratings increase from this. So all that does is just make it tougher on just wrestling every damn night of the week. My God. So I'd almost rather still have them go head to head because that's fun. The Monday Night Wars were fun. And I think the Wednesday Night Wars can somewhat be fun as well, although I think COVID's put a damper on that. But if there wouldn't have been the pandemic and fans would have still been there, I would have liked to see maybe the war heat up a little bit. Both companies trying some different things on TV to get the better of the other and be a little bit more competitive than it is, right now with everything going on. But I don't know. I'm almost like on the fence about that. I understand, and we speculated too when we've talked about this possibility before. Who's going to be the one to like make the move? Is it going to be the networks? Is it going to be like TNT or USA going to one of these companies and say, look, we got to move to another night. We can get a much bigger rating if we don't have to worry about going head to head with those guys. I could see either company making that call and say, here's what we're going to do. Or is it going to be more from internally in WWE? Let's just get away from that and move on or whatever. Me personally, I want to see the Wednesday Night Wars continue a little bit longer. It hasn't even been a year. And plus, it's not like Impact going up against Raw, where it was such a, where Raw's tripling and even more their rating and stuff, and it wasn't even close. At least NXT and AEW are competitive, and that makes it fun. Move them on separate nights now. Not that they still won't be competitive with each other, but, them going out of their way to outdo each other. Like if NXT has an upcoming title match on their show, AEW is going to book a solid show to compete with that, and vice versa. So now if it's not like that anymore, what's the real motivation to go out of your way to put on a good show, knowing that you're not going head to head with that other show anymore, So if it's up to me, please stay on Wednesdays, at least for a little while longer. I'm realistic and I understand that, ratings and, and money and business are going to come into play here, and eventually something's going to be moved, I'm sure, at some point, but I want it to stick around for a little while longer. I ain't done with the Wednesday Night Wars just yet. Got to get a super chat out. Nathan Hansen, good to see you, man. Appreciate the $2. You'll be all out. Gonna wear your merch. You are nice. Did you tweet me that? You might have. That is awesome. Have fun and be safe. Wear your mask. All that kind of stuff. I will look for you. Might be easy to see some fans in the audience now since there ain't many of them. But I hope you have a good time, and let us know. Keep us updated on the Twitter, your experience there. Send us some pictures. Tag me in anything you got if you don't mind. If you get to the show early or you got a picture of the setup or whatever. Not that it's going to be anything too crazy. Shoot them over to me. I'll get them some retweets and all that. And have a good time, Nathan. And I can't wait to hear how that goes. Zane, appreciate the $5. To be honest, did you think All Out kicked WrestleMania to the curb? Tony Khan thought so. I didn't. Well, of course, Tony Khan is going to say that. WrestleMania was hard for me to watch, but to say it kicked, I think I saw that comment, or I saw something in a tweet where Khan said that it kicked WrestleMania's ass or whatever. I don't think it did. I mean, maybe because the Stadium Stampede and all that was great. That's what he's referring to, right? And the Performance Center portion of WrestleMania, like, the Ripley and Charlotte match and the Brock and Drew match, it's like, God, that's tough to watch with no audience, But I think WWE really made up for it with the Funhouse and with the Boneyard and, even Edge and Orton, who people, a lot of people had bad things to say about the match. Edge still came back, and that was still very cool. And I don't know if I'm going to say, I think he's a little bit overshooting there, but that's what you got to do when you're backing up your brand, So that's not something that I take offense to, and that's another thing I wish fans would just like relax about. Like if Tony Khan says that, what? Oh my God, and they run to Twitter and give him a hard time about, oh man, the Boneyard and this and that. Like, just be cool, man. That's what he's supposed to say. You don't have to believe it. What's the difference? What's the difference? Doesn't matter. They both did good under the circumstances, but I think saying that they kicked WrestleMania's ass is a little bit of a stretch. Now, if you're just judging the Performance Center portion of WrestleMania, yes, they did. Absolutely, they did. But WWE did have enough, creativity to think a little bit outside the box and come up with some of those cinematic matches that made WrestleMania more entertaining than it was, in the Performance Center. So, yeah, I kind of disagree with Tony Khan, but it doesn't make me hate Tony Khan. I don't give a shit. Next up, I want to briefly mention a couple of superstars that's tested positive for the COVID virus. One was The Rock. He released a video on Instagram saying that him and his couple of daughters and his wife, they all tested positive for the coronavirus. They are all now on the other side of it, which is great news. The jabronavirus never stood a chance. Come on, the Johnsons, get the fuck out of here. They probably one of the daughters probably got like a little sniffle, and then they just hit the COVID with the people's elbow, and it was done. And it sounds like they're all back and good, and that's really good news. So happy to hear that for the Johnson family, and best of luck. And also AJ Styles apparently did test positive last month for COVID as well, and apparently he is also recovered from this and on the other side of it. So that's all good news. And speaking of COVID, I want to talk quickly about Renee Young real quick. She did an interview where she talked about a lot of things concerning her WWE departure, talked about the cancellation of Talking Smack, being removed from Raw commentary, and, you know, basically just evaluating her overall career and saying, well, what is there for me to do here kind of thing? I'm spinning my wheels. They're canceling Talking Smack. It's almost like I'm taking a step down, just doing pre-shows, and they don't really have any sort of clear role for me. And a lot of that stuff kind of all weighed in and added to her decision. And then one of the other bigger things that really infuriated me, and I always like blow a gasket every time I hear something like this because it just infuriates me, pisses me off to no end. You know, she talked about her COVID test, her positive COVID result, and how she had contracted the coronavirus. And she informed everybody on Twitter, you know, because she goes, yeah, I'm in contact with a lot of people. This might be good. Maybe they should see this and know that I have tested positive in case they've been around me and they want to get tested or, you know, just whatever. And plus, she was just sharing something about her life, which she has every single right as a human being to do. And she had said that WWE kind of gave her a hard time about it. You know, and they're like, oh, we wish you would have told us that you were going to post that. You know, it's kind of bad for PR. Instead of saying, oh, shit, Renee, are you okay? Is there anything you need? This fucking company, she contracted the virus, damn near guaranteed, at work in WWE. It's not like this PR nonsense. Like, it's not a scandal. For her to announce that she's got a positive COVID test should mean nothing. And WWE's going to give her shit about it. And she said she felt slighted by them. Like, that kind of bothered her a little bit, that instead of saying, you know, oh my God, what can we do for you? Oh, we wish you wouldn't have posted that because we're so worried about our stupid fucking image. You know, to me, everybody knew WWE was dropping the ball handling the COVID stuff and the precautions at first. They weren't doing anything. They were determined to, you know, go on with business as usual. And a lot of staff and talent tested positive, and it ran through damn near everybody until they finally got their act together. So everybody already knew that WWE were idiots when handling this. So it's not like this is any sort of shock. It's not like she let some big cat out of the bag. And the fact that they gave somebody like Renee Young, who's so valuable to the company, they gave her shit for that. That's exactly why I hate this company. You know, you're going to tell me what I can post about my health, my body. It's mine. If I want to post on Twitter that I've got COVID, I will do that anytime I damn well please. You don't tell me what to do with my life. It was the same thing with the Rusev and Lana stuff. How they got engaged. They're happy. They wanted to tell the world that they're engaged, and WWE got all mad at them because they're the ones that chose to split them up in storyline just to troll them, just to mess with them, because Rusev cut his hair or something. And then they move on with their lives and they get engaged, and then WWE's pissed. You know, I'm like, WWE, they got to understand. Everybody knows, man. You watch the WWE network, they will, in one breath, get pissed at Rusev and Lana for breaking kayfabe, and then 2 seconds later on Raw, they're promoting a WWE 24 special that's going to air immediately after Raw, where the entire thing exposes that the business is fake. So it's not like people don't fucking know, you know, and shit like that. And then when it affects their careers, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, the nerve of this company. You know, I wouldn't last 2 weeks there. I'd knock somebody out and quit. You know, maybe not Vince, because I don't want to get my ass kicked. But one of these wormy little management dudes, you know, you shouldn't have really tweeted that. Boom, fist right through the face. Goodbye, I quit. Arrest me for assault. I don't care. I'm not going to be treated like this. It just blows my mind. Somebody like Renee, who's so beloved and so valuable to them being dicks, I'm not saying it wasn't already in her head to leave, but that might have been just the way they are. Just the way they don't give a shit about anybody. That might have actually been the straw that broke the camel's back for her and said, you know what, I'm out of here. She also went on to reveal that she's got an extremely long no-compete, way longer than 90 days. So if Renee's turns up anywhere on another network, ESPN, on Fox, AEW perhaps, probably 2021 before we see anything like that. And I don't know, but kind of an interesting interview, and just, you know, revealing some things like that about WWE just really makes me sick to my stomach that they are like that. I'm like, what is the harm? It did nothing. They're so damn worried. This PR is just so ridiculous. They got so many other problems, and they were doing so much other effed up stuff. Renee tweeting about a COVID, and them getting mad about that when her tweet was actually pretty responsible, because it's not like she's one of us that just sits in their house all day. She's out and about interacting with people. So letting everybody know on social media, hey, I got it. If we shook hands or you gave me a hug or something, just wanted you to know. And WWE got worried. They were less worried about her health, and the potential health of others, and more worried about their stupid company image. Fuck that company. God, I hate them. Anyway, let's move on to All Out. We'll talk about the pay-per-view, the card. It's looking good. I got all the matches, I think, total of 9, I think, including one on the buy-in. So I was a little surprised to read this. I didn't watch all of Dynamite, so I didn't catch what the latest build between these two ladies was. But Britt Baker and taking on Swole is going to be happening on the buy-in. So it's going to be like the pre-show match. This is a tooth and nail match. Don't know the stip here. You got to rip a tooth out? What you got to do? Or is it just a fun tagline for the match? I guess, with the the weakness of the AEW women's division, they probably weren't going to put 2 women's matches on the main card, but I am a little bit surprised based on the long build between these two that this is a buy-in match. But I got to predict it. I guess I'm going to go Britt Baker. It's going to be a return match into the ring, right? She's been out for all this time. I like Big Swole. I think in real life, Big Swole would kill her, but I think Baker's kind of got to go over here just based on her spot on the roster, I guess. But I could be wrong there, but I'm going to go Britt Baker in the tooth and nail match. Main card time now. I'm going to go in the order that I consider of importance, I think, or at least that I consider them to be. And I guess we'll start with the big 8-man tag. It's going to be the Dark Order, Brody Lee, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, and Colt Cabana taking on Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, Matt Cardona, and Scorpio Sky. Based on the fact that Brody is in this match and the way he just destroyed and murdered Cody, and he's got that title now, I don't want to see him losing anything, even if it is an 8-man tag where he doesn't have to be anywhere near the finish. I still don't want the Dark Order losing here. So I say Dark Order wins this match, and it looks like they're setting up Brody Lee and Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. Now, I said back when Sky faced Cody that Sky would be the guy that I would like to see get the title next, or be one guy to win the title. And the fact that he's this close to a feud with Brody Lee, I worry that if he faces Brody now, he won't win the title. I think this will be something that he'd have to win a few months from now type of thing. So I'm a little nervous that they're already doing this between the two, and I'm sure we'll get a title match on Dynamite one week or something. But I think Brody, based on the dominant fashion that he won the title, needs to stay dominant for a little while and let the Dark Order continue to grow, because they were pretty funny. I like wackiness. I like silliness. Doesn't bother me. So all the stuff that Dark Order did last week when they were doing the title celebration and the lawnmowers and the dancing casket and all of that, that's what wrestling's about, man. I liked it. Now, one thing I am worried about here, and I got to make fun just a little bit of Cody Rhodes, is he's been out, right? He got attacked and, stretchered out and lost the title and everything. Since this is a pay-per-view, I'm wondering if Cody will show up here. His good friend Matt Cardona is in this match, so even though I predicted Dark Order to win here, there's a chance the babyfaces could win with a little bit of help from Cody Rhodes if he shows up. Now, the only thing I hope they don't do with him, because you guys have to remind me, what pay-per-view was it that the lights went out and we were like, holy shit, and when it came back up, it was Cody? Like, that's not a surprise. Cody works there. What's the big deal? If Cody comes out in this match, I hope they don't do the lights out thing, because that was a little cheesy or whatever. What pay-per-view was that it was Cody? They did the lights out thing when the Dark Order debuted, I think, too, and everybody's like, who the hell are they? So if Cody wants to run in, that's fine. Just don't do a dramatic lights out reveal thing. It's not that shocking that you would show up there, especially if you're a little bit healed up from your beatdown. But barring any sort of Cody return or interference or something like that, I got to go with Dark Order. They need to keep rolling here. We also have the Young Bucks taking on Jurassic Express. Now, the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express run an 8-man tag this past week. I think the winning team, the two teams would face each other here at All Out. So it doesn't look like there's any stip here. Does the winner get a title shot? I just think it's a straight-up match. I got my match card today off of Fightful.com, and I didn't see any stip here in this match, but I got to go Young Bucks. And by the way, it is going to be Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Marco Stunt will be on the outside of the ring. But the Bucks and FTR, I feel like are headed for a clash. So I'm going to go the Bucks here so they can continue to increase their win-loss record and all of that to justify a title match down the road. Oh, yeah, I'll talk about that at the end here, Zane. Appreciate that super. Remind me in case I forget. But we'll talk about Retribution when we wrap up here. After that, I've got written down the Casino Battle Royale. Now, the winner of this, of course, gets a title shot for the AEW title. I got a couple of options here to win. Now, the one thing we got to remember about this Battle Royal, this is a great way to get around their ranking system. So whoever wins this needs to be somebody that wouldn't get a title shot normally. That's my opinion. Because if somebody with a great, like Jake Hager, or somebody with a really solid win-loss, and I don't know what their power rankings are right now, but, if somebody high up on the list wins this, I almost think that, defeats the purpose. This should be used to generate kind of an interesting match for the title that we might not get. Because now that they're doing the ranking system, you can't just do what WWE does, do a segment, and some random dude on the undercard gets a title shot for no reason. It's hard to do that now. So these Casino Battle Royale things are a good way to achieve that. We saw Brian Cage win it in his debut, which I do think was a mistake to have him win that quick. But now I think I got a couple of ideas here. Now, Lance Archer and Brian Cage are both in this match. I think Archer obviously would be an excellent choice for this. And he can just maim everybody and just toss everybody out and just be a complete monster. But since they've teased a little bit of a showdown with Brian Cage on TV lately with Jake Roberts and Taz and everybody on the mic. It was a little wacky the way they said the segment that we saw last night with this, because it was kind of all over the place, but it did give us Jake, Taz, and Eddie Kingston all on the mic, right? Which was like, holy shit. That was fun. And we saw Archer in there and we saw Cage in there. We saw Darby Allin come in. We saw Shawn Spears, Jake Hager, a lot of guys in there. But I think when it comes to Archer and Cage, since Archer's kind of the favorite, since he's just the ass-kicking monster, and Cage has already won one of these, I kind of feel like they'll cancel each other out. And we're going to go with a different winner here. And I think I know who it might be. Now, some people might say Darby Allin, but I say no. I love Darby, but if Moxley retains the title later in the main event, Darby's already had several wars with Moxley. We're not going to get that match again. So, but I mean, I suppose if MJF does win the title, then maybe, it could be Darby. I think it's going to be Shawn Spears, because Shawn Spears has been absent. Has he had any matches? And I haven't watched Dark, but I haven't seen Shawn Spears on Dynamite in I don't know how long, at least unless I've missed him or something. He's showing up a lot with Tully, but we haven't seen him in the ring, or at least I can't think of any instances where I've seen him in the ring. And he's the guy that's kind of off the radar right now. He came in hot, lost all of his steam. Then they decided they were going to get him a tag team partner, and then they forgot about it and dropped it. And now he's kind of just spinning his wheels again. He's a guy that would not be getting a title shot, really, for storyline purposes or a spot on the rankings or whatever. So if, we got a babyface champion, I think Spears is an excellent guy to win the Battle Royal and go after Moxley, because I think in the next match, we're going to crown some new tag team champions. And Tully might be looking to really put a lot of gold into his stable. So I'm picking Shawn Spears to win the Battle Royal. For me, he's the one that makes the most sense. Everybody else, even Jake Hager, Brian Cage, and I thought Lance Archer. I thought Archer took on Moxley, but maybe not. Somebody corrected me last week. It was no, they haven't wrestled yet. I thought they had. Archer wrestled Cody, I think. Maybe that's what it was. But based on everybody in it, I'm going Spears to win the Battle Royal and get a title shot against the Mox. I guess I just gave away who I'm predicting in the main event. After that, we've got the tag team titles. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus FTR. This is it for Hangman and Omega. We've only had 2 tag team champions in all of AEW's history so far. SCU won them initially, and I was on the boat. I was on the Jericho cruise to watch Hangman and Omega win the titles at the Dynamite taping, and they've been champs ever since. FTR has now come in from WWE. When Hangman and Omega won the titles, FTR was in WWE. How crazy is that? Now these two are facing for the AEW title. Hangman officially booted out of the Elite last week, costing the Bucks that match. All that stuff feels ready to implode now. Hangman and Omega definitely need to go on their own ways. A lot of people have really been calling for old school Japan Kenny Omega to show his face here in AEW and become a contender for a title. Page now has been doing this cowboy drunk gimmick for so long that's taking him into a new direction. I don't think they need to be a team anymore. They're facing FTR, who have come in claiming that they're the best tag team in the world. They're gonna show AEW how real tag team wrestling is. We demand that tag team rules be officiated properly in our matches, and we want that written into our contract type of thing. Plus, they've had this little war for a couple of years now, even online, with the Young Bucks. If we ever face, we'll prove how good we are. They've kept these two teams apart all this time, and now you've got FTR with a title shot, and they're going to wind up beating the Bucks to the title. When everybody thought the Bucks were going to be like the first team to win the title or the second, they haven't won it yet, and now a team from WWE comes in and beats them to the belts. That's a match. Bucks, FTR in the future. Oh, yeah. So FTR are going to be new tag team champions in this match. I'm almost certain of it. And like I said, that would add to, my idea of Spears winning the Battle Royal and having Tully, really start building up a good-looking stable for himself. So we'll see, but you got to go FTR all the way here. And I'm sure Hangman Page and Omega's relationship will play a role here, probably in the finish as well, because who knows what's going on with them. I didn't see what they did last night with those two guys and missed it. So I think that if they do lose the titles here, that should be the end of their alliance. Maybe they even start brawling, and we get a match between them down the road, one-on-one or something. But I think a lot of things could happen in that tag team match. But you got to put the belts on the former Revival. You gotta. We got Thunder Rosa taking on Shida for the AEW Women's Title. Thunder Rosa and Serena had a great match last night on Dynamite. Just automatically, it just improves the women's division so greatly with her there. And as much as we all love her, she's a sweetheart, great person. You got to have Shida go over here. She's your champ. You're a bigger company than the NWA. Tony Khan is in the driver's seat, I would assume, in the relationship with Billy Corgan. Billy needs NWA to survive somehow. Working relationship with AEW is the best way to do it. And I think a small price to pay is to have your women's champion lose to their women's champion. So I can't imagine a scenario where AEW will say, okay, we'll let this YouTube wrestling promotion come in here and beat our champion. I don't think so. So, and plus it'll be a great way, this will just be a good match in general. I think Shida has lacked some really good competition. Some of her matches have been a little bit botchy and stuff because some of the people she's been in there with haven't been very good. And I think neither one of these two are Charlotte in my mind. I don't think either one of them are as good in the ring as someone like her or Io Shirai or Asuka, but they're both very damn good and basically the two best AEW has to offer. And I wouldn't take the belt off Shida here in this situation, but I would definitely keep Thunder Rosa around, and I'm curious what she'll do after that, considering she still is. They're not unifying here, right? This is not a unification match. She will still be the NWA Women's Champion after that, but I don't know. I hope she's going to be on TV a little longer than that. Would like to see that and just get involved in some other things. But yeah, I got to pick Shida there to retain the women's title. After that, we've got Chris Jericho taking on Orange Cassidy in the Mimosa Mayhem match. Dan Price suggested that we bust out some mimosas on Saturday, and I think we'll do that. I got Jericho Bubbly right up there from the cruise, a couple of bottles of it. I'll put one in the fridge, crack it open, and at least drink one. I'm not really a mimosa drinker, but maybe I'll drink one for the match, during the match, and then I'll stick to beer for the rest of the show. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Or I'll drink them on the review, too. That's what I should have said. But anyway, when you look at this, this is the rubber match. Jericho and Cassidy have had two wars. Jericho won the first one. Cassidy won the other one. Both won via pinfall. Now you book this crazy Mimosa Mayhem match that Jericho claimed on TV was his idea because he came up with Money in the Bank and he's a genius coming up with great matches like this. But, to me, this is a little bit of, this could be a very smart political move by Chris Jericho. In this situation, since it's a match where you can have a finish without a pinfall, but you can still get pinned. I think it's pinfall, submission, or throw your opponent into this vat of mimosa. So since technically you can win this match without being pinned, Jericho's got to put the kid over. Jericho's got to give Orange Cassidy the rubber match, I think. And plus he can do that without having to lose to him. All Jericho has to do is take a bath in the mimosa, and that's it. And he's put this kid over, gives Cassidy the edge, gives him the tiebreaker win. He wins the program, wins the feud, but at the same time, Jericho wasn't, just beaten dead and pinned in the middle of the ring, and he still has, that value there. So I think it's more of an everybody wins scenario for Chris Jericho to take a bath I think having a pinfall or a submission here would be silly. If you're going to have that big vat of mimosas, somebody's going to be swimming in it. So not using it and just doing a pinfall and Jericho beats and pins Cassidy in the middle of the ring, that's not going to happen. Somebody's going in the orange juice. So I think it's got to be Chris Jericho. If he tosses Cassidy in there, okay, I'm not saying it's a burial or anything, but how do you not put the kid over? I think it's got to be Orange Cassidy all the way. And it's smart of Jericho. I mean, if Jericho knows that too, because Jericho obviously thinks very highly of Cassidy. If he didn't, they wouldn't be working together in this long of a program that's now going to have its third match. So Jericho is there to do right by the business. He's in AEW to put the stars over, but at the same time, he's going to protect himself too. So he probably really did come up with this match himself. And like, you know what? I got to put Cassidy over, but I don't want him to pin me. So let's just make a stip. Throw me an orange juice. I'll do that. And he's able to accomplish, putting somebody over without having to completely be humiliated at the same time. Not that taking a bath in the mimosa isn't going to be a little bit humiliating. I'm sure when Jericho goes in there, he's going to be flopping and screaming, and he'll probably come out on TV wearing the same clothes, just like he was wearing the orange jacket for a while. So I think Jericho going in there gives you a lot more potential for segments on TV, especially the next night if Jericho comes to the ring still wearing the same shit. Or if he'll just be off TV for a while, let Orange Cassidy move on to a different opponent, and when Jericho comes back, he'll move on to a different opponent. Something like that. But I got to go Cassidy all the way in that match. I think it would almost be a disappointment if Jericho won, just based on the fact that you have set yourself up here with a stipulation that allows you to lose without getting pinned, and if you still don't take advantage of that to put this kid over, I think that's shitty. So I think Jericho should put Cassidy over in that match, and I'm picking him. And Sammy Guevara also has a match with a veteran. Young Sammy is taking on Matt Hardy. This is a broken rules match. What the hell are the rules in a broken rules match? I'm assuming there are no rules because they're broken. So I'm assuming here they can do anything they want. There's also a stipulation here, I believe, that if Matt Hardy loses, he's got to leave AEW, correct? So, shit. I kind of feel like Sam, the young person, should go over here, but given that stipulation, Sammy's just coming off a suspension. Hardy. I'm going Matt Hardy in this match. Broken rules. I think it'll be fun. I don't know how far they'll take it. Maybe if they want to do some magic tricks, if we see some broken Matt show up or some Damascus or the drone flies in or we do something crazy, I suppose that's possible. But I'm going to go Matt Hardy. I think Matt Hardy's got to win this match. And I think he will. And if you notice, too, I put this on Twitter last night. This pay-per-view, because I'm about to talk about Jon Moxley and MJF here, this pay-per-view slightly resembles Fully Loaded 2000. Remember Fully Loaded 2000? You had 3 established stars taking on kind of 3 newcomers or newcomers into the company or potential future stars. You had The Rock taking on Chris Benoit for the title. You had Triple H versus Chris Jericho in that Last Man Standing match. And you had The Undertaker versus Kurt Angle. And I remember at the time watching that and listening to hotlines and reading the dirt sheets, and it was like that was a big test. I mean, it was like Jericho and Benoit and Angle's coming out party, like, okay, we're gonna put you with 3 top stars, 3 veterans. Well, The Rock isn't really a veteran because Jericho and Benoit have been wrestling before him. But you had 3 guys that are on top, have all been world champions against 3 that could potentially be in the future. And all 3 of the established stars won. Rock beat Benoit, Triple H beat Jericho, and Taker beat Angle. Now you kind of have the same deal here. We have Jericho taking on a young Orange Cassidy, Matt Hardy, another veteran, taking on a young Sammy Guevara, and Jon Moxley, a guy that's already had a long run in WWE, multi-time world champion. He's not old like Jericho and Hardy is, but he's in his prime, taking on a very young MJF who's up and coming, and a lot of people feel like is the future of the business, especially based on his mic work and stuff. So that's 3 big matches, very similar to Fully Loaded there, and I don't think it's a situation where like the young guys automatically have to win, because look at what happened on Fully Loaded. That didn't happen. They all lost. So maybe in this one, it's got to be a little bit of a balance here. And Cassidy should definitely go over Jericho, like I said, but maybe not Sammy over Matt. I think Sammy, just based on his recent, history and everything in the company and what's been going on in the feud with Hardy and, the chair shot botched to the forehead, I think Hardy should probably put him down here. And Sammy will recover. Sammy's 17. That kid's got his whole world ahead of him, and he's just ridiculously talented, and he's going to be just fine here. So I think it's going to have to be a mixture where I think, unlike Fully Loaded, where only one up-and-coming star won, or I'm sorry, no up-and-coming stars won, this time it's only going to be one. and that's Orange Cassidy. Matt will beat Sammy, and Moxley will beat MJF. That's just the way I feel like it's going to go. MJF is probably going to be world champion one day. You could do something crazy and put the belt on him here. You definitely could. But based on what we saw the segment last night with MJF kind of getting the upper hand on John, busting him open and all that, how does he now go and win the match? I almost think like because of some of the teases that we've seen with Wardlow tries to help, screws up, pissing MJF off, and then he can slap him the next Wednesday on Dynamite or something like that. But I don't even know if John Moxley never necessarily needs help to beat MJF. I think it might be a situation where Wardlow's coming in to try to help MJF and then like misses. MJF's holding Moxley and then Wardlow comes in for a clothesline or something. Moxley ducks, nails MJF. He goes down. Moxley eliminates Wardlow over the top rope or something. Paradigm shift to MJF. Pin 1, 2, 3, and then MJF and Wardlow MJF can be very mad at Wardlow for the miscommunication and the botch, and he can blame him for losing the title and continue to say that he's the uncrowned world champion, and I'd be champion if it weren't for you, Wardlow, and then he slaps him, and then Wardlow goes full Alex Riley. That's what I kind of think they should do here. In the end of the day, I know Moxley's been champ for a while now, but I just don't see a good reason to take it off of him right now to shake things up. He's still the U.S. champ, right? New Japan? He's still a double belt holder. Johnny 2 belts, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to put him... I think MJF, he hasn't lost really yet, right? Isn't he undefeated in singles or something? He's got to lose. Somebody's got to beat him. Cody didn't. Maybe Moxley will. And two, another thing, speaking of Cody, I know I picked Shawn Spears in the Casino Battle Royale, but how does it work with Cody? Like, he's got it in that stipulation that he'll never get a shot at the title again. But what if he wins the Casino Battle Royale? Then does he get a title shot? Does it kind of like Lex Luger in the Royal Rumble? Same thing? Does that kind of negate that clause? And if he wins the poker chip thing, then wait, that was a ladder match. If he wins the Battle Royale, will he get a title shot despite that clause? I should have thrown Cody there into my predictions, but I'm still sticking with Spears. But Cody would also make sense because, like I said, I think the winner of the Battle Royal needs to be somebody that otherwise wouldn't be getting a title shot. Cody, not only does he have that stipulation that says he can't get a title shot, he got annihilated for the TNT Championship by Brody Lee. So, he doesn't really, I suppose, deserve one based on their ranking system and all of that. So that could be a way to get around that. And if MJF beats Moxley by somehow, with some shady-ass help, and then Cody wins the Battle Royal, there you go, MJF and Cody. And Cody wins the belt or something. Revenge. I don't know. I still think that's down the road. I still think if MJF were to win the title, he should run with the title for a little bit, and then Cody wins some title shot match in 3 months, and then you do the match or something. But I'm still picking Moxley. I think that'll be the best outcome there. Only one title change I've got on this show, and that's FTR win the tag team titles. But I still think it's going to be a good show. I think tag title match has potential. I think the women's title match has potential. Jericho and Cassidy are going to be fun. I think Sammy and Matt could surprise us. Mox and MJF could be better than expected. Who knows what kind of craziness we'll see in that 8-man tag. If we're looking for, and Battle Royals are always fun, even without Andre the Giant. So I think if you're looking for a good, fun night of wrestling on Saturday, that should be delivered to you because it's based on how this looks on paper. I think it'd be hard to fuck it up. So best of luck to the guys and gals this Saturday. Looking forward to a great show. I'm probably going to pick this up and watch it, I guess, on BR Live. That's how I usually order it. So I'll have to look into that in the next couple days, get it ordered, and get ready to rock. And like I said, we'll be up here Saturday night, immediately following the show for a review. Should be fun. Anyway, that wraps it up for the predictions. If you're just tuning in, I'll just recap them real quick. Britt Baker Britt Baker over Big Swole. I'm picking the Dark Order over Dustin, QT, Cardona, and Sky. I'm picking the Bucks over Jurassic Express. I'm picking Shawn Spears and maybe Cody, but I'm going with Shawn Spears in the Casino Battle Royale. I'm picking FTR to defeat Omega and Page to win the tag team titles. Shida over Thunder Rosa. Orange Cassidy has got to throw Jericho into the bath of mimosa and win that program. I'm predicting him there. I think Matt Hardy will put down Sammy Guevara and save his AEW job. And Moxley over MJF. There you go, in a nutshell. All right, let me cruise back up here and knock out a couple of these super chats that I missed earlier, and see if you guys have any questions, because I have finished ahead of schedule, and technically we got a little while longer before we have to sign off here. Let me cruise back up. Zane, I owed you that one from earlier on. Appreciate the $5 more. Thoughts on Retribution being a Raw-only angle? That's something I should have talked about in the beginning on the news, because that does explain a lot. You know, we didn't see them show up not only on SmackDown, but then they didn't show up at Payback, and they didn't show up at SummerSlam either. And then on Raw, they were back. So I guess they're now moving this to a Raw angle, which is not good. I don't think that's a really good idea. If you want Retribution to be there to cause havoc and to cause problems, and clearly their war is with the company, why would they just limit themselves to Raw unless they start targeting one specific person? Because they jumped in the ring on SmackDown and tore it up, you know, and they were all over the place on SmackDown a couple of weeks. Why all of a sudden are they just saying, oh, it's just going to be Raw now? I don't know. I don't think that's going to help at all. I think the angle's already bad. And maybe WWE realizes that. You know, and that might be a good thing, even though I think it's a dumb idea, given what Retribution has done, for them all of a sudden just to care about Raw. WWE's probably doing the right thing, recognizing that Retribution is not being very well received by the audience. So we still want to do it, and we still want to improve upon it, but maybe we shouldn't give it to fans on both shows. There's a lot of people don't like it. The last thing they need to see is that on both shows. So it'd be nice if WWE thought about that stuff more. Oh, shit, fans don't like this. Let's change it or move it type of thing. So from that perspective, I think it's a good idea, so we don't have to deal with it twice a week. But from a storyline perspective, I don't think it makes much sense. And I'm starting to lose more and more interest in whoever becomes the leader. At this point, I honestly don't care. I don't care. I think there could be some interesting possibilities. I think Keith Lee could definitely be involved. You know, Dominic Dijakovic and Mia Yim are two of the people under these masks. Whether they'll be revealed to be that or not, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised to see either one move to the main roster. But again, what's their motives? Why are they doing this? What's going to come out when this is finally revealed to everybody? It better not be dumb. The reason better not be stupid. Like, oh, really? All this stuff, the chainsaws and breaking down the ring and kicking everybody's ass and baseball bats and bricks through windows, it's all for this? That's dumb. So we'll see. I'm not a fan of the Retribution angle. Oh, Bruce, I have no idea. Did not know about that. Well, that would explain Cody being beat down by Brody Lee. I had no idea about his show with Stephen Amell. So apparently Cody is going to be off TV until October. Okay, yeah, sorry, guys. I had no idea about that. That's the type of stuff. Those are little details I don't pay attention to. All right, so Cody's not an option. He's not going to win the Battle Royal. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Spears. Spears was my pick anyway. He's the one that makes the most sense to me. And cool, that explains why Cody was killed so much in that match. He's gone for a while. Good. So they better not do when he comes back then, they better not do the lights out thing, because that was stupid. Joey G, good to see you. Appreciate the $2. Favorite current wrestler or tag team? FTR for you. Favorite current wrestler or tag team? Who's my favorite current? I don't have a favorite current wrestler. Asuka. Asuka's my favorite current wrestler. Favorite tag team? God, they all suck so bad on the main roster and stuff. I think I have a favorite tag team right now. Maybe the Lucha Brothers, I guess. I don't know. I'm going Asuka. Hard to vote against Asuka. Or Big E. Let's see. Where's another one? Zane, 5 more from you. Appreciate it. Maybe Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy can do a WrestleMania 10 deal. That's what I said. I put that on Twitter immediately when there was a stare down with the 2 IC titles. I'm like, there's only one way to settle that. We know that. Ladder match, Madison Square Garden. Only hang the 2 belts up there. That would be a match, but unfortunately you can't go to the Garden. But yeah, I think doing a little throwback to that would be cool when they finally do this match. You know, maybe it's Night of Champions or Clash of Champions. That's not coming. It's still 4 weeks away or 3 weeks away. So if they do a WrestleMania 10 style ladder match, maybe with just some throwbacks to that match, I don't know how you would do it. I think that would be cool. It'll be the first time the belt's been determined that way since WrestleMania 10 in terms of having 2 champions. Both guys have the belt. I'm the real IC champ. No, I am. Hang them up. Climb a ladder. Get to him. Big Swole is your girl. I like Big Swole. MJF, Asuka. I like Adam Page too. Adam Page is one of my favorite people on AEW right now. Adam Page and, believe it or not, Brody Lee. I've kind of turned the corner on Brody Lee. Now I'm like, okay. I like him now. My audio levels are too low. I usually use the same volume level. I suppose I could turn it up a little bit. I know I'm not as loud as everybody else, so I just worry about like mic distortion and stuff. Look, I can hear myself.
I like Adam Page too.
Oh. They are kind of low, actually. Now that I think about it. Can you guys all hear me okay? Yeah, Bruce, I'm the same way. I really hope WWE builds Big E like Drew last year. Give him some big wins over AJ Styles, Rumble win, beat Roman at Mania. That would be one way to do it. As of right now, they are on the same brand. Yeah, Big E, I would really like to see him get on the map. Let me turn on my... just turn up my gain a little bit there, too. See if that helps you at all. I saw some close-up pics, but again, like I don't care who's under the hoods, because who's under the hoods doesn't matter. You know, like a lot of people, you know, if you're doing something where people are in disguise, you don't necessarily have to have the people who it's going to be under there. It can just be random people, and then you can reveal whoever you want when it's time for the reveal. So when people are like, "Oh my God, it's Dio Bad and Dominic Dijakovic and Mia Yim," I'm like, "Yeah, it is." But who's to say it's going to be them when they all reveal themselves? So to me, I don't even care about that, because WWE can just change that, and you might be able to recognize somebody under the mask, and then when Retribution does their entire faction reveal, that person's nowhere to be found. So I think they're just having people play who's under there or whatever, and they'll start worrying about it more later. But I still think, even with that said, they are all going to be a part of the faction, because none of them have been featured that much on TV, especially Dominic Dijakovic. We heard he was coming up, and we haven't seen him and all of that, so he'll likely be one of the people under there. But what their motives are, why they're doing all this, I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah, I usually keep it purposely quieter, because I made the mistake of being too loud one time, and then I was all distorted, but I will work on that. I'll have it a little bit louder for Saturday night. Sorry, guys. Ooh, is that what's happening? I saw Tyson Fury hasn't shut his stupid snot trap about facing Drew McIntyre. He really wants to face him, and that just makes me nervous, because he sucks, and I don't want to see him be anywhere near him, especially when he's champion. And if they're going to build that match for WrestleMania, oh, God. I mean, it feels like they might. Especially if we get to the point where, you know, fans are allowed back, and who knows if it's even going to be here in LA or not. I doubt it, but it might. And that would be a big match, you know, for a publicity perspective. But I don't want to see them beat Drew with this guy or whatever. Jesus Christ. So he's calling him out on social media, and Drew's responding and stuff. And it's just the last thing I want to see. Seeing Tyson in the ring with Strowman told me all I need to know about him, and, you know, how he'll be able to perform in a match. He is not going to be like Pat McAfee. He's going to be the opposite of Pat McAfee. And he's going to be, he'll be slightly better than Aki Bono. Other than that, he's going to be god-awful, and I don't want to see it. Yeah, I would not be surprised, Andrew, if Roman is a guy that is drafted to Raw at some point. I think Randy Orton could also be drafted over to SmackDown. And if Roman is champion, you could put the Universal belt back on Raw and change it red again, and then move the WWE title to Fox. They could do that, or if Roman's not the champion, maybe they won't. But they do move the belts a lot for some reason. I don't know why they do that, but they constantly feel the need to. I don't know why they did it last time, move the Universal to SmackDown. I'm like, that's so weird. Why are you doing that? So maybe they're going to put it all back now and putting Heyman and Roman on Raw. You know, it's kind of what the fans are used to, you know, with Heyman and Brock being on Raw for so long. And I talked about Randy Orton potentially going to SmackDown, because I don't think he's going to wind up winning the title from Drew McIntyre, even though he does have another title shot at Clash of Champions. If they move him to SmackDown, he's got a chance now to win the Universal title, which is a belt he hasn't held. And I think WWE would really like him to hold that at some point. So I guess it depends on where the belts land and who lands where. I also thought it would be cool for Edge to go to SmackDown, because he was a big part of SmackDown back in the day, and SmackDown is on Fox, and Edge and Randy Orton really impressed with their build and their promos leading up to their matches that they had with each other. The WrestleMania one and the greatest match ever. That was some of the greatest work promo work of either guy's career, and it was really a good example of like what pro wrestling can be with the drama and everything. And I think WWE might want to capture a little bit of that magic and have that on Fox for that audience. And wouldn't be surprised to see Edge and Orton both on SmackDown when they resume their rivalry, if those rumors are true, for next year's WrestleMania. So I see some guys moving around for sure. I think a Roman and Drew match is on the horizon again. So funny, a couple nights ago, last couple streams, whenever it was, I had forgotten that they worked WrestleMania 35. Totally forgot. I was like, oh man, they could build up these two guys for a big showdown at WrestleMania. And like, well, yeah, they already worked together at 35. But that doesn't mean they can't work again at 37, especially if they're both, a lot more interesting than they were. And it wasn't just that predictable match with Roman just spearing and pinning Drew or whatever. You actually have a little bit more to it. I think it could still be fun, even though they already faced each other. But you could also get a Survivor Series match. If they're doing the champion versus champion thing, if they're going to do that theme this year, did they do it last year? I forgot. You could do Roman and Drew there. No belts on the line, just a match. Might be fun. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Pat McAfee versus Triple H, maybe. Fury got $10 million for that. Yeah, I was at the first SmackDown in LA. We went and saw Brock beat Cody, and Fury was in the front row for that. And then he wrestled the Saudi Arabia match. They gave him $10 million for that. God, why? He's awful. I put on Twitter, I was like, I'd rather sit in a chair and watch the Hulk Hogan and Warrior match from Halloween Havoc 1998 while simultaneously being stung by a swarm of hornets and I have to eat a bowl of warm expired cottage cheese. I'd rather go through that experience than to ever watch that big idiot attempt to wrestle. He's awful. I hate it when WWE throws money at people for publicity, especially when they embarrass themselves and embarrass wrestling by getting in the ring. Some guys can pull it off, there's not very many Lawrence Taylors and Pat McAfee's out there in the world. Most of them are complete duds, and that's what Tyson Fury is, a dud. Total effing dud. Zane, appreciate $5 more. Otis moving to Raw for cash-in on whoever is champion on Raw. Maybe. I don't know how they're going to factor in the Otis thing. I have no idea how they're going to do that. When and if he's going to cash in. I still like the idea of somebody taking the briefcase away from him. And I think it was a cool idea, pitching the idea of moving it to a women's wrestler or whatever. But I think a male wrestler could also take it from him, maybe attack him or threaten Mandy. I said that. That's what Retribution should do. That's what they should build to. But Otis is on SmackDown, and Retribution is now a Raw-only angle. But if they have a leader or something, I would target Mandy and Otis, and I would have all the Retribution guys grab Mandy and then have, somebody say, hey, Otis, give us the briefcase. Our leader wants the briefcase. Give it to us, or we tear her arms completely off her body. Two choices. She dies, or we get the briefcase. And Otis is like, oh, here you go. Don't want my peach to die. Here's the briefcase, and they go give it to the leader, and then he comes in and cashes in on some big moment and reveals himself. That's the way I'd do it. But if they're limited to Raw, that's not really going to work. So it would have to be a situation where they were still on both shows. But to me, that would be one way to pay off the Retribution angle that would be good, is if they did something, very violent and did something to blackmail Otis into giving them the briefcase, and you still don't reveal who the winner is or the leader is. You just have one guy speaking, maybe the lieutenant in the Retribution faction, say, give us the briefcase. Our leader wants the briefcase. And then they go give it to the leader, and you don't know who the leader is. All you know is the leader has it. And then the leader shows up, wins the title, pulls the hood off, and it's CM Punk, or it's somebody like that. That would be a cool payoff. But it's just gonna be tough for them to recover from this, because Retribution is just dumb. So not into it. The fact that Fury rose up like Taker was a disgrace, I don't even remember that. Did he rise up, at the match with Strowman? All right. I think I caught up all the super chats. All right, cool. Well, I got to get the heck out of here and get to work. Wow, we had a really small audience in here today, but I appreciate you guys hanging out. It's always fun. Smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind on your way out the door. And join me on Twitter. Follow me. I'll be live tweeting during all of All Out. And then as soon as the show goes off the air, we'll come up here live. We'll have a full show review and we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. Should be fun. I think it's going to be impossible for them to not deliver a really solid show here on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it a lot. Hope you guys can join us. Anyway, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your Thursday night. Enjoy your Friday tomorrow. And then this weekend, we got a fun weekend of wrestling. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be up here on Sunday as well to talk some Roddy Piper business. So that's going to be a fun night as well. We got a lot of streaming to do and a lot of wrestling to watch. So I will see you guys this weekend. Enjoy your night, and I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.